What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to talk about what I'm holding in my hand right here. What I'm holding here is a special type of an account. It is an account that if you want to become one of the elite, one of the wealthiest, if that is a goal of yours to become wealthy, then this is an account that you have to have. Today we're going to cover what is this account, what makes it so attractive, what makes it so sexy, and why and how are wealthy people taking full advantage of it. That's what we're going to find out in today's video coming up. What's going on, everybody? Jeff Rose back with another wealth hack tip, and today we're talking about a special type of account that all wealthy people have. And for those that are familiar with how to build wealth, how do the rich get richer, you commonly hear that they are investing into real estate, they are entrepreneurs, they have their own companies or investing into companies, private equity. You hear all these different ways that they're building wealth, and all these are true. But the one thing that you have to realize is that it's not just what they are buying, but it is how they are buying it. You always hear that the rich take advantage of all the tax loopholes and all those tax breaks, and there is some truth to that. But for the most part, these aren't secrets. These aren't tax principles that you can only find, if you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. These are all things that are public information. It's just a matter of either doing your own research or getting connected to a tax professional that knows what they are doing. And I share all that because that is what led to me opening the type of account that I referred to earlier. And what this account is a self-directed 401k. Now you can have a self-directed 401k or a self-directed IRA. Now we'll talk about that more here in a second. Now all this became very popular whenever Mitt Romney, who was a former presidential candidate, was running against Obama, and it came out that he had an IRA that was worth more than $102 million. Yes, let me say that again. An IRA, an individual retirement account, that was worth over $102 million. When that came out, people were scratching their heads trying to figure out how he exactly did that. Because if you know anything about IRAs, you can only put in so much per year. Right now it's $5,500. So if he was putting in $5,500 per year, how in the world did he grow that to over $102 million? The average person, I don't care how great you are at picking stocks, that is not going to work. You are not that good. That is almost impossible to grow an IRA into that amount. I don't care if you are Warren Buffett. So many were asking how that happened. How was he able to do that? And the answer is a self-directed IRA. First, let's define what exactly is a self-directed IRA or a 401k. And quite simply put, this is a retirement account where you have full discretion in what you are putting into it and what investments you are choosing. Now, for many of you that may already have a retirement account with an online brokerage or a local investment firm, you might think that you have a self-directed retirement account because you have full discretion to choose your mutual funds, choose your stocks, choose your ETFs. And while that is true, you don't really have what is considered to be a self-directed retirement account. So let's get more specific on what that exactly means. So what exactly can you invest into and versus what you can't invest to? And I'm gonna start with what you can't invest into an IRA. So the two things that you can't invest into are life insurance and collectibles. So what exactly are collectibles? Collectibles are artwork, antiques, coins, gems, stamps, and yes, even my Snake Eyes G.I. Joe figures. Dang, I like my G.I. Joes. Those are the two things that you can't invest into an IRA. So what are the things that you can invest into? And this is where it gets a lot of fun. So here is a list of the things that you can invest inside your self-directed IRA or 401k. So what can you invest into? You can invest into real estate, gold, options, hedge funds, limited partnerships, tax liens, private stock, and international real estate. Now, if you notice, some of the things that I mentioned If you try to do this at your online brokerage, whether it be Vanguard or Fidelity or E-Trade, you're not gonna be able to buy these type of investments in there with them, because that is just not what they do. They are a custodian that doesn't specialize into these alternative investments. Right now, there are only 47 custodians that will allow you to open up a self-directed account, whether it be an IRA or 401k. By what I can tell, there are less and less that are out there. There are still some available, so yes, you can do it, and there are some that specialize in that. And even in the 47 that are out there currently, some may do real estate, some may do private company stock, but a lot of them don't do everything. So a lot of them have their specialties, their niches that they focus on. It just depends, what exactly do you want to invest into? And let me tell you, Mitt Romney is not the only wealthy person that is taking advantage of the self-directed retirement account. It's reported from the US Government Accountability Office that over 791 individuals have IRA balances between $10 and $25 million. And of those, 391 have over $25 million in their IRAs. Now, all these figures are from 2011, so I have to imagine that these numbers are much bigger. So as you can see, there are wealthy people that are taking full advantage of these self-directed retirement accounts. All right, we talked about some of the pluses and some of the positives of having a self-directed retirement account, but obviously with every pro, there's a con. So what are some of the dangers or pitfalls when it comes to having one of these accounts? Well, the first one I can tell you is cost. If you're going to have one of these accounts, it's going to be much more expensive than having an IRA at an online brokerage, where they may charge you $10 a year or maybe $50 per year. You can expect to pay a lot more. I remember several years ago, I had somebody contact my office. They had a self-directed IRA that was held with some custodian that was changing the way that they did business. And this person had some sort of private ownership into some business, some private equity. And I think they were paying about $100 per year for them to have this account. But they were making some big changes. So instead of paying $100 per year, their fees were gonna go up to $275 per quarter. So $1,100 per year just to have the account. And in their case, there wasn't a lot of activity going on with that account. There wasn't any interest being paid. It was just this stake in this private company that they owned. So trying to justify paying $1,100 a year was very hard for them, and they were trying to find a custodian that they could transfer out to lower their costs and still have this ownership in this company. Another potential concern is IRS filing requirements. Now, if you have an IRA, you don't have to worry about this, but in my case, I have a self-directed 401k. So what does that mean? That means that I have certain IRS regulations that I have to follow that are much more strict than an IRA and some of the more simpler retirement accounts that exist out there. I have to file what's called a 5500 every year. I have to file my amendment with my TPA every year, and I pay anywhere between $500 to $1,500 per year just to make sure that I am good with the IRS on this. So once again, as you can see, this is much more expensive, but as a business and the fact of what I own in my account, which I'll share with you here in a second, I can justify the expense because of the flexibility that I get by having this self-directed 401k. All right, the third danger or pitfall that you have to be aware of is prohibited transactions. So there are many of these, and I don't want to list them all here. You can do your own research. But since many of you are familiar with real estate, and that's something we all can relate to, let me give you two examples of what would be a prohibited transaction inside a self-directed IRA or 401k. So a common question I hear with people that want to open one of these accounts, oh, can I just take my IRA money and buy my house? And you cannot do that. So if it's a property that you currently own, you cannot use your IRA money to purchase that. That is a prohibited transaction. Another example could be a vacation home. Let's say that you want to buy a home in Florida. Well, if you want to buy the home and use it as an investment property, that's one thing. But if you are using this as a vacation home where you're going there for even a week out of the year, the IRS is not going to like that, and it could be considered a prohibited transaction. So what does that mean if you get dinged as a prohibited transaction inside that IRA? Well, basically, the IRA becomes null, it becomes void, and any tax shelter that you had or that you hope that you had with this self-directed IRA or 401k is now gone. You just lost it. So you have to be very careful, what exactly are you investing into? And that's why it's important to have a tax professional or somebody that specializes in these type of accounts so that you know exactly what you're doing and that you don't get burned. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what type of account do I have and how is mine different? What is that look like? So I've been talking a lot about a self-directed IRA or 401k. And while the investments that you can choose in those is the same, the key difference is how much you can put into them. You know, with the IRA, it doesn't matter if it's self-directed, traditional, or Roth, you can only put in so much per year. You know, that's $5,500 unless you have your income restrictions. But let's just kind of use that as a general example. So $5,500 is the most that you can put into it. And if that's the case and you want to invest into real estate, you know, it's going to take you a while before you're putting in $5,500 a year to get to a point where you can go out and buy an investment property for $50,000, $100,000, $200,000. I mean, if you're starting at age 25, it might take you till you're 45 before you can do and make that first investment transaction inside your self-directed retirement account. So what exactly do I have? What type of account do I have? And how have I been able to grow it much faster than the traditional or self-directed IRA? And as many of you probably know, if you didn't listen to the beginning part of this video or watch any of my other videos, I do have a small business. And with that, I have established a retirement account. Now, initially, I just started with a SEP IRA, and then that grew to a solo 401k, and then that grew to a traditional 401k when I added employees. But it was a traditional 401k with a little asterisk because it wasn't your typical traditional 401k. It was a self-directed 401k that gave me the flexibility to purchase and buy whatever type of investments that I wanted to. Now, I wish I could tell you that I have made some amazing private equity investments, some real estate deals, and I'm just on the path to becoming the next Mitt Romney. I'm not quite there yet. So I'm still trying to figure out and learning what do I want to invest into. So right now, my self-directed 401k largely consists of mutual funds, individual stocks, ETFs. Some of the alternative investments that I have made inside of that is peer-to-peer lending with Lending Club. And you can watch my video on Lending Club where I talk about what that is and how that works. I've also invested into real estate notes. So this isn't your direct real estate investment. I wrote a check to buy into this real estate note. It's like a real estate investment trust. This is through a private lender where basically I just write the check and they pay me the interest that I collect on monthly. So that interest all gets paid directly back into my self-directed 401k. So I don't get that money, it's going there, but it's tax deferred. And those are the types of deals that you can do. But because I have a 401k and I am a business owner, I can put in a lot more than the $5,500 that most people are capped at doing. So there have been years where I've been able to put in up to $50,000 or more inside that 401k. And plus my wife is an employee, so she gets paid, she gets her match, and she maxed out her 401k too. So we're able to put a good chunk into our 401k. And I'm more or less just sitting back waiting for these opportunities because I know they are going to come. I know that they're going to be presented to me. And the best part is that I have a checkbook that I can write a check for on when this investment comes up. And that's what makes these accounts so powerful, because you can't do that with your E-Trade account. You can't do that if you have an IRA set up with one of these online apps. They just don't have that flexibility to be able to write a check if you come across an investment opportunity that you want to jump on. And it's that flexibility that allow these wealthy people that have these self-directed accounts established, where if they come across a deal that they can write a check and jump in faster than most other people can. As they say, the rich get richer, but to do that, you have to be set up properly, and having a self-directed IRA or 401k set up for you is just one of those ways. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm curious, have you ever considered setting up your own self-directed retirement account? Have you even heard of a self-directed IRA or 401k? Let me know in the comments below if this is something that you are considering, that if you could do it, you would do it, or if you already have one established, let me know where you set it up and what you have invested into. I wanna hear your experiences and what you've been able to learn setting up your self-directed retirement account. This is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, your life, and only you can make it awesome. Until next time, peace.